I love Revelation chapter 2. It's crazy to me because Jesus gets onto this church here in Ephesus. Now the thing about this church here in Ephesus is this happens 40 years after the church was even established. But these guys held to sound doctrine. I mean, these guys worked incredibly hard, yet they did not love God as much as they did in the beginning. I think this might be due to a second generation problem. Most of the church here was by now second generation. They had been serving God a long time. I think it's important to learn a lesson from them, and that's that service to God's kingdom can never be allowed to displace a love for the King. And I think oftentimes it does. How do we know if we've lost our love for God? I think our love for God cools down when we take Him for granted. Yet I think decline creeps in so gradually that we don't even notice when our heart is growing cold. Sure, our loyalty to truth is unquestionable, but our love for both God and people is apathetic. I think a sign that our love is in decline is that we don't even enjoy spiritual joy anymore. Our Christian life just becomes routine and apathetic, where we are almost mechanical in our Christianity and in our faith. We don't even love other Christians like we used to. I think the solution is found in these two words, these actions that are the solution to our cold heart: remember and repent. I think the church needs both work and worship. I actually don't believe that there is any tension between the two, because I believe that work grows out of worship. But when our work does not come from worship, I think it's revealing that our motive is no longer from a place of love. It's crazy to me that Jesus tells this faithful, intolerant of evil, enduring hardship, do good church, you have forsaken your first love. It's almost like the church here in Ephesus gives us a 101 class on how to lose our love for God. And I get it. Some of us are exhausted. We are tired of running this race called Christianity. It feels like work to bite our tongue. It feels like work to resist temptation and sin. It feels like a fight to lay aside weights and to always have to be the bigger person, to volunteer when no one else will, to give when it hurts, to lead, to step up, to do the things that we know that we should. Some of us feel like it's a fight to just keep running our race. I think obedience fatigue is real. For some of us, our loyalty to truth is unquestionable, but maybe our love for God has grown cold. I want to share with you something that I've learned through my failures over the years. When my focus is on being a Christian, I become restless. But when my focus is on Christ, I become refreshed. I've learned that it's not about trying harder. I've learned that it's not about exerting more energy. I've learned that it's not about willpower. It's about understanding that with new faith has to come a new focus. And that focus has to always only ever be Jesus. When we focus on the fight that it is to be a Christian, when we focus on the work that it is to be faithful, we begin to neglect what it means to actually fellowship with God. But when we stop fighting for Him, we realize and we remember that He fights for us and that He is our strength, it makes all the difference. For those of you that feel like living for God is a fight, it's time to come back to your first love. In other words, what makes a good fighter? A good rester. Only our rest is not in a place, and it's not in a weekend. It's not in a vacation. It's not once our head hits the pillow. Our rest is found in a person. And I don't know about you, but I want to live in a place with this sense of gratitude for sins forgiven, this acute awareness that only God is able to give me the freedom that I so long for. We cannot walk with God without loving Him. What is our first love? It's the love that we knew for Jesus when we first became Christians.